Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Manxiety Podcast.
We're your hosts, Ashad and Matt. Before we get started, if you're enjoying this show, please subscribe so you can get notified of new episodes.
If you want to share this with your friends, you can find us on all podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
This week, we're back. And we haven't talked to you guys since last year. Wow. Matt is shaking his head because he knew I was going to start off with that. It's been a whole year since I've seen Matt's face too. It's okay, Matt. It's okay.
Like, I knew it was coming, and
I know you did,
and I still just facepalmed very hard in it. Like, in my head, I was like, he's about to say, "Haven't seen you since last year," or like, are you one of those people that will order a pizza, and when it gets delivered after midnight, you're like, I ordered this last year.
I'm not, but I wish I was because that would be freaking hilarious.
It's
I
like
would have such a good time doing that. You know how they do Domino's 10-minute or no? Which one is it?
It used to be if
actually,
it's
never mind,
30
it's
minutes or less. Yeah, it used to be.
It's from freaking Home Alone because I was watching that the other day, where if we don't deliver your pizza in 15 minutes or less or something, your pizza is on us or something.
No, I think that was a real thing where it was 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, in Home Alone, the pizza delivery guy, whatever, their pizza service does that too. But it would be funny if you called them and you're like, "Been waiting since last year for this pizza." All right. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Just some good humor to start off this new year. And wait for it. Today's topic is 2021 in review. Or the last year in review. Yay!
Now, just to clarify, you can listen to this podcast on Spotify. We are not sponsored by the Spotify Wrapped, okay? Just saying. That's not what we were alluding to, all right?
No, Instagram did that too this year, didn't? Or like Snapchat? Snapchat did that. Where they had like your 2021 or something. And then...
honestly... It's
YouTube used to always do that, but they stopped this year.
Well, YouTube did a total year in review, but it'd be really cool. I was listening to some people that I watch on YouTube talk about it, where like if you did like a YouTube Wrapped type thing for Spotify, like what channel did you watch the most? Like how many hours did you watch? Like how really unproductive were you this year? Like things like that would be kind of cool to have that data. The kind of the
Honestly,
same way
that's
Spotify
probably
is.
Why they don't do it.
You know what? Apple should do a there's that weekly app usage or whatever you can like phone usage. There should be a phone usage in review. It's like we understand that there was COVID and lockdowns and all this shit, but really like 14 hours a day screen time, like it's your average. Like what are you doing? Just kidding. Mine's not that high.
I feel like you can see it, no?
For the whole year? I think you can see it for like a month.
Oh no, it's only for the week. So if you go to see all activity, it only shows you for the week. Damn, I had 35 hours of screen time this week.
I mean, you're on vacation, right? It's the holidays.
I guess so. Anyway, all right, getting back into it though. Yes, 2021 in review. We want to just go through the good times and the bad of 2021. And I'm going to let Matt kick us off because apparently he's prepared some stuff for us.
Oh, yeah.
He's super prepared this year. I can already tell that this year is going to be a better year for Matt because last year, if we did this, we wouldn't have questions like these. Because I'm very like spontaneous and like, I mean, I like to plan, but like I'm also spontaneous in certain things. So like I'm always just like, I'll come up with it on the spot. And then I don't know what Matt's excuse was, but this year he has some planned.
Well, we'll get to that answer to that question, what the deal was this year, later, after you answer first. What was the best thing that happened to you this year? Or last year, god damn it.
No, this year. Well, because it's only... I'm just kidding.
I fucked up earlier when we were talking. I was like, what happened like this year? Like, that's what we're going to talk about. He's like, this year, it's only been one day. I woke up and I had fun.
Yes. Anyway, so best thing that happened last year. Honestly, There were a lot of really great things that happened, but moving into my new house was probably one of the best things that happened that I can talk about at this point. There may be others that I'm not going to talk about yet, but yeah, I think moving in, like just getting done with all the work. Obviously, I wasn't done. You guys have heard me talking about all the continuous work I've been doing on the house after, but being able to actually move into a new house, get settled in, and be a homeowner was probably the best thing that happened. How about you, Matt?
For me, it was really going back to therapy, right? The year had its ups and its downs, and there were parts of it were a total shit show and parts that were good. But going into therapy and then getting diagnosed with ADHD and then getting medication for it has been, the way it's described sometimes is like having ADHD is like being nearsighted or farsighted. You need glasses. Your brain needs glasses. You take the medication, you're wearing glasses, right? When you don't have the medication, you're not wearing glasses. So things are kind of fuzzy and blurry and whatever. And for me, we'll talk about this later, but the way that it manifests is kind of how like very spontaneous and sporadic, like you mentioned. But earlier, because I took my medication today, it was just like, oh, we're doing an episode. I should plan out questions. I should do this. Like, what do I want to talk about? Let's do this, and this, or whatever. And that's why I think that going into this year, I'm super excited because it's like having that at the tail end of this year and then starting the new year with it to be like, well, I know what I can accomplish when the world was fuzzy, right? When I needed glasses. But now that my vision has been corrected, what can I really do and what can I see and what new opportunities are going to present themselves and like, how is that going to look? So for me, that was my best thing that happened overall was like refocusing on the mental health and then understanding deeper parts of it that were like, oh, something's actually been different and I had no idea.
Oh, that's amazing. When you made that analogy for like nearsighted, farsighted, I kind of thought of something, but I don't have ADHD, so I don't know if this is actually how it is. So let me tell you like the analogy that like kind of came to my mind, and you tell me if it sounds like it makes sense. Okay?
Sure.
So I know you said nearsighted, farsighted, but for some reason I imagined like a road, like you being on a road, right? Or your thoughts are like cars on a road, but there's no stop signs, there's no stoplights when you're off the medication. Sort of just anything goes. Your thoughts are just like all over the place. But as soon as you get on meds, it adds all the stop signs and stoplights and all this stuff to your roads. So you're able to control, which lights turn green and which lights turn red and where the stop signs are. So you can say, these are the thoughts that I want moving right now, whereas everything else is red, or, whatever combination of that.
Yeah, kind of. It's like having that, not traffic per se, but like having rules, right? Where you're able to kind of say like, here's this thought. Maybe it does need to stop at the red light and not plow through and then, distract me. Because there's definitely been times when on the weekends or something, I'd be like fixing, like we have some shelves downstairs and one of them like was kind of crooked. And I was like, why is this shelf crooked, right? And it was like that for a while. But this particular day, I was like, I'm going to fix this shelf. And I like took apart the entire thing, fixed it, like redid all the boards and shit, and then put it back. And then like in the middle of it, I was like, wait, why was I down here again? And I was like, oh, right, I made coffee. Like, I came downstairs to make coffee, and I was like, I'm going to fix that fucking shelf right now. And I'll be damned if I don't get it done right now. So that's kind of like having that person, like referee or, cross guard or traffic or whatever it is, right? To like put that in place. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. I'll say real quick, because this is, I want to talk a lot, like hyperactivity, yay, go me. The way I describe it, and I want this on record, because I've heard this is a beautiful analogy, is, we just got done with the holidays. If you're a decent person at wrapping gifts, you probably wrapped gifts. I can't speak. Gifts. I am terrible at wrapping gifts. Jeez, I can't speak. But the way I describe it on medication is like, when you are cutting the wrapping paper with scissors and you are gliding, right? Like when you're gliding and everybody like loves that feeling of like, yeah, just go, 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 go. Everything's very smooth. It's easy. It's just straightforward. That is like the medication working. And then off of it is like with more jagged scissors, which are just, there's little speed bumps that get in the way of your thought process. And the more that it snares, the more that you get kind of pissed off. Right? If you're using really dull scissors to cut wrapping paper, you're going to get mad because it's not perfect. It doesn't look good. Like, oh, God damn it. Why can't you just glide, you idiot? Now, many, many years of saying that to myself, why can't you just do this, you idiot? Makes me think I have dull scissors when really I just needed a sharpener or glasses or traffic or any of these that you want to fit in an analogy. But we'll talk more about that later when we have a special guest.
Ooh, special guest? What?
I don't know why I was like as if it was like spooky. It's wrong holiday. I should have done it in Jingle Bells. But back on track.
All right, I got one for you. What new skills did you learn last year?
New skills? I wasn't prepared for you to ask me questions. Would have put me on the spot.
That's why I threw it out there. To be fair, I don't know any of the questions you're going to ask me either, so I'm not really prepared for your questions either.
Fair. That's fair. Let's see. New skills. It's not so much it's not really a skill, maybe more of like a mindset, but it kind of relates to a skill of like accomplishing certain tasks, but realizing that you like almost being more confident in trying new things. So the skill in particular was like having to do a very, very customer facing role and being able to like de-escalate situations when people are upset. Not necessarily upset at me, but like at the situation, right? Somebody's upset because, I don't know, something's not working right and they're taking it out on me. And being able to de-escalate and handle it was I
think that's a skill.
Yeah. So like that part of it's the skill.
Yeah.
The mindset part of it is just like approaching it in a way that is, how can I help? Like, how can I not take this in a negative way and detach from the situation? So like, I guess like detaching was a skill that I worked on in therapy where it's like detaching myself from the result to be able to say
the situation, maybe.
Yeah. Like they're upset. I don't own their feelings, right? Their feelings are their feelings and my feelings are mine. And if they're upset and I did something wrong, I'll apologize. I'm sorry, right? I'll do better, whatever. But like, I don't own their response, right? So being able to pull back and that skill of saying like, almost like being in the panic situation, but then kind of like looking up and going like, oh, the firefighters are here and the situation's solved. But like instead of just so tunnel visioning and focusing on that one thing and being like, oh my God, the world's on fire. It's like, no, the people that are going to fix it are here. You just have to like look up and see the big picture. So that'd probably be my skill that I think I picked up the best.
Yeah, because you started your new job and obviously that skill was associated with the new job. So I think that's a very important skill to have just in general.
Yeah. What about you? Any new skills? Other than fucking being the carpenter extraordinaire that you are?
No, that's what I was about to say. Like, I learned a lot of new skills this year, just because I worked on the house. I mean, man, just like woodworking and carpentering and tile work, like are new skills that I obviously picked up and have been working on recently. Which, as of today, I finally finished like actually placing tiles, all of my tiles. All I have to do is like put the last grout on maybe tomorrow and like clean it, and then like I'll be done with tiles. But yeah, there was just a lot of like physical like house skills that I learned within last year. Just like, I don't know, putting on moldings and different ways of painting and like electric stuff and plumbing. Like I've replaced my plumbing and stuff. So I don't know. There's so many skills, which I'm very grateful for, because obviously now I have those skills and I can use them later on for any other projects that I have to do. Yeah, I think those are the big ones. Just like learning handyman skills in a sense, so that I can take care of my own house and those of like my loved ones and my friends and stuff. I actually went to my cousin's house maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I ran some Cat 6 cables for them and like their coax cables so I can run internet to this closet they wanted to. And, you know, obviously running some of that, terminating those cables. I learned a lot of that because I had to do it myself.
That's super cool, especially working in like IT. Now you know a shit ton more about what actually goes into those networking cables instead of just like I have a connection. You're like, wow, this is actually a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and I mean I'd done that obviously for work a little bit before, but it's so different doing it in house. Like, you know, when you're doing it in like a building or like a corporate office or something like that, a lot of those offices are made like to have ways to run cabling through the walls and like already have cabling and stuff. Whereas in a house, especially an older house, like, I don't know, people do some weird shit to houses and then just like cover it up with paint and like drywall, and you never know what's behind there. Like, you can find all kinds of stuff inside walls, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it was. I think those skills are definitely going to help for a long time.
Oh, for sure. They're extremely valuable. Let's see here. Most challenging thing this year.
Ooh, most challenging thing this year. I don't know if it's the most challenging, but it's the one I'm thinking of right now. So I'm just going to go with it. But I think learning to take ownership of stuff that's mine, even like, I don't know how to word it.
So like you had issues with holding yourself accountable. Is that what happened?
No, it was more of like, obviously when we got the house or whenever I do anything, right? Like, and people want to help, I appreciate their help, but I also feel like I can't tell them to do something a certain way or to change the way they're doing something because like they're offering their help. Like, I'm not paying someone to do something where I can give them instruction. And even when I was paying for people, like let's say when I was working on the house and like I had my tile man come, right? And I was always paying him to do tile. Like, at first I didn't feel like I could go and tell them like, hey, like I want you to do it this way. Because I was like, I'm paying them and they're here sort of like doing it and they've done it. So who am I kind of to tell them, you know, what to do or how to do it? But I think one of the most challenging things was like realizing that like, this is my house, like taking ownership of the house in a sense, like this is my house and like this is the way I want it done. Mm-hmm. And whether I hired you and I'm paying you or whether like, you know, you're helping me out, you know, like family comes to help or like friends or whatever else it is, like being able to talk to them and approach them in a way to say like, hey, like I want it done this way and I appreciate your help, but like, you know, if you can't help me in this way, like maybe you can help with something else. Or being able to talk to them about that. I found that a real challenge in the beginning. But I think over time I started realizing that and working on it a little bit more. Okay. And realizing that, you know, if I approach people the right way, they'll understand too, because, you know, it is my house and like maybe there's a reason I want it done a certain way.
Okay.
But also a part of that also goes along with, I also had to challenge myself to be more open-minded about doing things different ways, because sometimes the way I want to do it maybe was too hard or didn't make sense. So the other part of that was like challenging myself to like understand or be okay with doing something a different way, even if it's not exactly the way I wanted it.
Gotcha. So it sounds a little bit like setting boundaries with people, right? I mean, it's not really a boundary, but you know, kind of is, right? The expectation, the boundary of it and then like detaching the personal from the work, right? Because when you tell somebody, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z this way, you don't want to come off as like you're a piece of shit for doing it this other way, but you're like, this is my vision of how I want it done. Let's make it happen together. You know, like it's very fucking tough to do.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Matt?
Man, the beginning of the year was such a shit show because we had elections and shit in January, and then COVID stuff was worse, and then finally got vaccinated, and then got to see a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden Delta happens and all this stuff. And I think overall, the most challenging part for me was managing my stress, and what ultimately led to like a bunch of health anxiety because I wasn't managing my stress, and I was such a wound up, wrapped ball of just nerves and anger and shit that like little things would piss me off when it wasn't somebody's fault, you know? And like I didn't yell at people, but then I'd be like, oh, you idiot, why are you mad? You stupid idiot, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like that, the stressful situation of it, and then not realizing that other people were going through it as well, even though obviously we're on a fucking podcast talking about it and helping people. It was just like, I was kind of like, I guess I really understood how hard it was to do things like taking your meds, right? Like meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, like doing those things and like putting your best foot forward and progressing a little bit each day, right? It was like, for me, the challenging thing was, I guess, almost like walking the walk or talking or whatever I don't know. We were discussing earlier how like I'm terrible at these phrases.
It's walking the walk.
Okay, there we go. I was like, is it walking the talk? Is it talking the walk? You know, like it was just, I think there was a lot of it where that was the most challenging thing was like, I don't know. I think just like it took a while to get better, and like being down on myself about like not being good for a bit of it, you know? And it's interesting listening to some of those episodes, going back and listening to them and being like, yeah, I know exactly what I was saying here, and like, you know, how I felt that episode and why we talked about that episode, because this thing happened and this and this, and like most of it was in the episode, but then there's, you know, shit that you think about later and you're like, oh, looking back, oh, it was kind of because of this too.
Yeah. No, I mean, it can be tough. I mean, I think that's a great example of how, like, you know, we can be on this podcast talking about it every week, and outside of this podcast just talking to each other about stuff, and, you know, still be going through stuff because it's not, you know, there isn't.
It's like there's not a magic wand.
It's not a destination. It's a journey, right? It's like there's no answer to it, right? I'll put it this way: it's not a cure; it's a vaccine, right? That you like that?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Because there's no cure to anxiety, right? There's just like there's vaccines to it.
So,
that, like, you know, we've been vaccinating ourselves against it, but like there, you know, it has certain efficacy,
right? Like, listen up, everybody at home. Okay, if you listen to the Manxiety podcast, you're statistically 95% less likely to be anxious, but there are breakthrough anxieties that happen. All right, you can still get anxiety. You can still pass that on to your friends. You can still be anxious. All right, shit still happens.
When new variants arise,
you
have to listen to next week's episode to get the new vax.
Fuck the new variants, dude. Like getting a new job in a pandemic, working remote, fucking like how do you date in a pandemic? Like all these different things, dude. Fuck all the new DLC shit. Okay, let's
go back to the OG.
Yeah, let's talk about the OG stress strain. All right, the OG anxiety of like, am I good enough? Not all this other shit.
Yeah, don't throw. What's the saying? Don't add gas to the fire. The fire was bright enough already, and COVID just came in like just this whole vat of gasoline. Like, you're burn brighter, asshole.
Oh yeah, like everybody know the like this is fine dog meme where the dog is right, like sitting in the house. Yeah, and then everything's on fire. This is fine. It's like that's how it was before COVID for a lot of people. And then, like Ashad just said, people dumped not even just a little, not even a can of gasoline, a fucking 1 one of those semi trucks that it has like the big tubes.
No,
yeah,
it was just fucking raining gasoline. like it was just coming down from the skies everywhere.
That is so true, and it's funny that we're talking about the year, right? Because it's hard because in recent memory, like things have been pretty good for me, right? And like I'm like, cool, like things are pretty good. I'm excited to end the year, start the new year, whatever, blah blah blah. And then I'm like, the year was kind of a dumpster fire. It was raining gasoline, and like we didn't know what the fuck was going on for a lot of it, right? Even like, even things where it was like, well, having friends that work in healthcare and like they're basically the guinea pigs for the vaccines, and like checking in with them, like, how you feeling? You grow any like arms or anything yet? Like you anything funny? Like all this stuff, and then just digging through that, and yeah, man, it was a hell of a year.
I think I'm gonna start using that raining gasoline. I really like it.
Alright, dude, fuck it. We just coined it. What's up? Trademark that bitch.
I gotta Google this shit. See if we're the first ones to to use it.
Alrighty. Well, while you're Googling, which I don't know why I'm asking to multitask here, but while you're Googling, what?
Oh, you just asked the question. I gotta ask you one, don't I?
Oh, okay. All right. Do you have a list, or are you? No. That's perfectly fine.
All right.
Hey.
How do you describe this year in 3 to 5 keywords?
Raining gasoline on fire. Stress, loss, acceptance, perseverance, and growth.
This isn't an AA meeting, dude. I didn't say list the fucking AA steps to... I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, in my head, I was like, what are the 5 steps of grief? Like, can I just say those? It's like, what is it? Like denial, acceptance. I don't even know what they are because I never make it to the end.
I think it's like, I think it's denial, anger, something, acceptance. I don't know.
Gasoline. I'm looking it up. Let me see. It is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Fuck, that sounds pretty good.
Denial. What was it? Denial,
anger, bargaining,
yeah,
depression, and then acceptance.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, dude, yours were good though. Name them again one more time. Do you remember that?
Stress.
I remember growth.
Stress. Loss. Acceptance. Perseverance or persistence. What up? And then growth.
Nice. I like them. Very good.
What are your 5? Are you just gonna name the 5 that I did?
No. Well, I do like some of yours. So I think definitely growth. Novelty, but also stagnation. That's 3.
Is that your official word?
No, that's not my official word.
I mean, you could say dickish friends. That's for one of them.
No, probably excitement. And one other. I mean, I guess fear.
And so what were they all again?
Growth, stagnation, novelty, excitement, and fear.
Hopefully the fear came first, and then the excitement was last.
Yeah, they were in no real order. That's funny.
Well, that's why I said persistence, then growth, because I had to get through that period.
That's a good call. No, I didn't put mine in order. They can go in any order you'd like.
Okay.
No, I just feel like it had to have novelty and stagnation because it was like obviously novelty of like a new house and like all this other and like fucking novel variants of coronavirus, but also like stagnation because like fucking 2020 started with lockdown, like wearing masks and all this shit, and like 2021 had the same shit, right? Like it was unfortunately a lot of the same. I mean, some things changed. Obviously, we got vaccinated and all that, but I still feel like there was a lot that was just the same.
Yeah, that's true. Stagnation and fear were kind of like the first half for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, what you got next, Matt?
Alrighty. Next up, what was your favorite episode from 2021?
Oh man, I watched so many shows in 2021. I don't know which episode I would call. Ooh, hold on. Mandalorian.
Oh, that was a good one. What did they talk
That
about?
I like though.
What did they talk about?
Which episode? Wait, who's they?
The episode.
The man. What do you mean?
Yeah,
like
which
actor? Pedro Pascal?
Yeah, did he remove his helmet finally? No.
He did remove.
Is
his
he a little
helmet,
shy?
actually.
I actually haven't seen
Maybe.
it, so
Oh, really?
no.
I'm just kidding. He didn't remove his helmet. You should totally go watch it. Yeah, that's such a vague question because I don't know which show I would reference. There's just so many out there, and I watched so many of them in 2021.
Good point. I mean, let's. Can I refine the question a little bit, make it a little easier for you?
Oh yeah, totally. Please do, because
Now,
if you don't, I might just sit here trying to think of which episode I'm gonna talk about.
Yeah. Okay.
Of which show?
Now, I mean, something that everybody at home needs to understand is me and Ashad have been busy for the holidays, right? We took time off. We haven't really talked to each other that much. We talked to each other a little bit earlier, but him being a dick and me being a dick back to him is how we show love.
Hold on.
It's how we show.
How is this being a dick?
Because you know what the fuck my question was. It's the same way earlier when I'm like, what was your favorite? See, here, I'll rephrase it and then I'm gonna have to do it again. What was your favorite episode of the Manxiety podcast last year? Oh, sorry, this year. Fuck. See, I was gonna say it this year because I keep saying this year. What was your favorite episode we did?
This year? Well, this year we haven't done any episodes
so
yet.
This one.
This is my favorite episode of
We're
this year.
We're starting the bar off low.
What was your favorite episode of this year, Matt?
Oh, it was the one that I recorded earlier. I did a little solo pod.
Oh, was that for your other show? Because I didn't ask you the Manxiety podcast. Like that.
That was pretty good. Actually, I haven't watched TV today, so yeah, I haven't seen an episode of anything. So I have no reference. Anyways, what was your favorite episode of last year, of 2021? Let me be very specific here, so he doesn't fucking jump and go to 2020. That we did on the podcast, the Manxiety podcast, that we recorded together or with a guest, or fucking, how specific do I need to be?
No, I appreciate your specificity now. And now I will hopefully be able to answer.
It took you all that time to search up the episodes we did? I see you Googling. He's like, stall.
No, I was trying to, I was looking at all the episode names so I can recall what episodes we did, because this whole podcast is a blur since we started doing it. Like, all the episodes are just merged into one. I think my favorite one of last year, and it's not just one, it was a series that we did, so I'm not going to choose a single one from the series, was the finances series. Just because, I don't know, I felt so excited talking about it and like sharing all that, and I think it was very, very important information to share and for people to have. And I think it's very useful for everyone to learn about finances and sort of know the stuff we talked about. And I know I'm very lucky that I was able to learn it early on and sort of have been able to continue refining it. So yeah, I think it has to be like the finances episodes that we did. And if you're gonna ask me for a very specific finances episode, which one?
Oh, I wasn't.
I would probably have to say budgeting and saving. And I say that because I think that was the most important one. And I mean, it was kind of my favorite too, because like I talked about being in a book and stuff. But yeah, I think just like the content in there was very useful, and I think should be heard or read. Not even if you listen to this podcast, like you should go and learn about budgeting and savings just in general for your life. So yeah, that was my favorite one. What was your favorite episode of the Anxiety Podcast in 2021? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me be more specific. That we aired in 2021.
That's a good. I don't think we did any like secret episodes or anything. We didn't cut anything out.
No, like if we recorded in 2020.
Ah, right.
And aired in 2021.
Right. Okay. You think very highly of me if you think I'm going to go to that level to get out of the question. I mean, we did very early on in January do an interview with my mom, so I think like that has to kind of be default, like number one. But all the interviews I thought were amazing. We were talking to, with our friends, Anna, Matthew, and then Gary.
And Gary.
Yeah, all of them were amazing, and I learned so much from them, and I really enjoyed that. The finance series was great too. I actually thought when you said series, you were going to say stoicism, and I was like, dang, bro, that's what I was going to pick.
Is that what you were going to pick?
Yeah, I
thought you just said the interviews.
Well, I was just kind of like recapping over. It's we're playing it by ear. We're being spontaneous.
So what's your favorite episode? First you're like, it has to be the interview with my mom.
I'm also.
Then you're like, it has to be all the interviews. Then you're like,
I'm also digging through it. Hold on. My favorite when I was just looking through them, my favorite one, just on quick glance, was actually Fallback, where we talked about daylight savings, because I went on that rant about how it's the stupidest thing in the world to like have this, and it's just so goddamn annoying. And
you were very passionate about that.
Yeah, that was definitely one. I mean, I'm loud in general. That was one where when I was doing it, I think I edited it. I had to like go down and like turn down my mic volume severely. I was like, maybe don't yell so much, Matthew. Like very critical of myself.
Turn down for what?
I like that episode because it was lighthearted and fun. That was probably my favorite just because I got to like rant about it, and it was on such a mundane topic, but it was just really fun to just kind of go. I mean, I was serious. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. Daylight savings is stupid, or whatever it's called. It's daylight, whatever the fuck the other phrase is. Because I said that, so I was like, oh, like daylight savings is dumb.
Bring
like
forward and fall back.
Yeah, but I thought there was another name for, I don't know. Somebody like corrected me on something, and I was like, all right, whatever. Go listen to the episode. But it was also funny because I was ranting about it, I think like in therapy or something, and I basically did the same thing, but like a very shortened version of it. Because I'm like, I'm paying for this. I don't need to do an hour bit here. And it was like the same stuff. And my therapist was like, yeah, totally. Like, why do we do this shit? It's so dumb. And like, I hate it when it gets dark. And I was like, right? Other people agree with me, and you have a PhD. It's important. You're smart. Getting some validation there. So I'd probably say that one, just for the sheer lunacy that it was and how much fun it was.
I mean, if you want to argue and go on rants about mundane topics, feel free to, man, anytime.
We do that all the time.
That's true, we do.
Do you remember when we were arguing about traffic?
I do, and I had to draw that diagram. And I don't think I ever posted. Did we ever post that?
No, I edited that week, so I didn't post the diagram because I forgot to get it.
It's all good.
But yeah, it was just funny because I'm like, are we gonna have to cut this shit out? Like, nobody knows what you're talking about. And then at the end of it, like when I was doing the editing for it, I was like, hey, by the way, you were wrong last week. Like your thing. And then he's like, no, I wasn't. I was like, God damn it. All right, whatever. It's called a fucking truce. It's called a draw.
That's funny. Was that the last question you had? Or do you have more?
I got one more. Do you have another one?
I'll ask mine and you can end it with yours.
All right,
deal?
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to talk about last year like a story, what would be the title?
Raining Gasoline.
I was gonna say that.
What would be the title? I was gonna say your questions have been really good, and I can't guarantee this. I can tell kind of where your eyes are looking to your other screen, that you pulled up a list of really good questions to ask in an interview or something.
That's definitely not what I did.
Something similar. What would I describe it as a book?
They're not questions to ask in an interview, I'll tell you that much.
Questions to ask in a year in review or whatever it is. Could you imagine asking this shit in an interview? What was your favorite episode? What? Episode of what? Like, or you're like, could you
to be fair, no, that's a very valid question.
Could you describe your company in 5 words? And is it raining gasoline on fire?
Okay, no, but that is a very valid question. If you're going to an interview as like a video editor or in the movie industry or like TV show industry, a very valid question is, what was your favorite episode of last year?
You know, I've always wondered, right, about this. Real quick tangent for everybody.
Stop going on tangents. You're yourself time.
No.
Answer you.
No. It's a legitimate tangent here.
Fine.
Has your ass, like your literal ass, seen a psychologist to get an IQ test? Because it seems very smart today. Bro, don't do me like that. For the record,
are you calling me a smartass?
I'm calling you a smartass. For the record, I think he muted.
For the record,
he laughed in there, but he was on mute.
I was not on mute.
Oh man, dude.
I was just laughing to myself. For the record, my ass has seen a psychologist, and they tested the IQ and said it was higher than Einstein's.
You probably do a lot of squats. He didn't have squats. He didn't have the machinery we had.
That's true. Anyway, what's the title of your story, Matt?
Persistence. Because I think that's what we had to do, right? Was day by day, move forward, keep moving forward, right? Keep pushing through, and eventually you're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we've had a few light at the end of the tunnels, right? We had, vaccines are great and amazing, and it destroys the alpha variant, right? Before we knew it was an alpha variant, there were going to be 5 million other Greek letters. And then seeing people, oh my God, everything's going to go back to normal. And then it's like, no, just kidding. Fuck you. It's not. And then it was like, then now there's Delta. And it's like, wait, but Delta's going down and everything's going back to normal again and things are opening up. And then it's like, amazing. It's like, wait, no, JK, winter, Omicron, fuck you. So just persisting through all of it. And I think that that's also a big one overall for mental health, is taking it day by day. And then sometimes it sucks and you just got to keep going forward.
That's really good. Persistence is also the name of a speech that was said by Calvin Coolidge. I don't know if you've heard it. I'm just kidding. Of course you have. And if you guys haven't, you guys should go and read it or listen to it. Very good speech. Are you waiting for the title of my story for this year?
Sorry. A shot.
No.
Were
you waiting for it?
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
Oh, okay. All right. Mine would be 2021, year 29 of a shot's life.
Wow. So you think you're the main character, huh?
Of my own life? Yes, of course I am.
There's this subreddit on Reddit called main character or something like that, right? And like it shows this woman getting into a cab, and it's as if she's like in a movie, right? So she gets in the cab and she goes, I wonder if he likes me back or something. And she sits in the cab and then goes, take me home. And the taxi driver just kind of stares at her and goes, bitch, I don't know where you live.
I saw that. It was really good.
Yeah. So that's what it reminded me of. It's like 2021, a shot turned 29.
No, in reality, though, I think the name would probably be Opening New Doors.
Ooh. Yeah. Are they locked? Are we breaking in? Is it a B&E?
You don't know. It's a mystery.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of subreddits, there's also a subreddit and I forgot what it's called, but there's a subreddit where everyone acts like they live in a village together. I think I've talked about it once before on the show, or maybe I've told you about it. But there's a subreddit where like all of the posts on the subreddit are basically like everyone lives in this village together, and then people just like build upon this like imaginary village and like talk about like how like what happened today in this village, and like they'll come up with new characters, and then other people now this new person lives in this village too. So like imagine if like I went in there and I was like, oh yeah, yesterday I went to visit Butch the Butcher on Cornelius Street, right? So that's the post that I make, right? And then the next day you come on, you make a post. Yeah, I was passing by, I was driving down Cornelius Street, and right next to Butch's shop, I saw whatever. So you like build upon like this village that like people started. But I don't know why when you made that remark about your own story subreddit, it kind of reminded me of that.
That's pretty cool. Kind of like a group Dungeons and Dragons campaign, almost.
Yeah, right? Yeah, in a sense.
Or like Animal Crossing or something. I don't know, like some other thing where it's not as story driven, but more just like we're gonna add people to the world.
Yeah.
Mind you, I've never played Animal Crossing, so I don't know if that's actually how it works.
All right, go ahead. Ask your final question, so we can let these people get back to their lives. It's
the final question. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. 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 All right, final question.
And the subreddit is called "Have We Met?"
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna read you guys. Sorry, before you get to the final question, I'm gonna read you guys like one of the posts on there. Someone wrote, "Who captured that photo last night?" Or someone else wrote, "I'm hosting a New Year's Day lunch on. Everyone is invited." So it's just stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, we all know who captured the photo, dude. It was... Okay, honestly, like, I was going to say Peter Parker, because Peter Parker takes pictures of Spider-Man and sells it to the Daily Bugle. That was basically the first iteration of OnlyFans, right? I mean, like, he's taking pictures of himself, reselling it under a different alias. Like, I mean...
All right, we're not going to get into this right now. Ask your final question.
My man's had it figured out. All right, final question. What was your biggest takeaway from, drumroll, 2021?
Ooh, my biggest takeaway from 2021. Huh, that's a thinker, Matt.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, if you have one, yeah, definitely go first while I think about it.
Okay. My biggest takeaway from 2021 was basically the quote from Sir Winston Churchill, which is, "Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it." Both in the context of the political scape and everything going on in the world, right? COVID, all this shit, right? Science changing and stuff, and people not saying, is this going to work? It didn't work before. We used this before. Why doesn't this work, right? But also in the context of personal relationships and anxiety and stuff, right? It's like, if you don't look at where you've been, you're never going to really know where you're going to go, because your past is going to kind of dictate a little bit where your future is, right? And of course you can change it, but having that understanding of, kind of like this, right? Like we did a year in review. So it's like, what were the biggest challenges, right? What were the biggest this? What was this? And looking at those things and saying like, how can I not make that a challenge going into the next year? How can I do this better and solve for this a little bit and maybe change this and try something new and do things that are going to be scary, right? Like going to therapy. But hey, I went before years ago and it was amazing. And during the crazy fucking pandemic, it was like, hey, maybe I should go back. Maybe it'll help. And it did, right? And I had that history already. So some of it's going to be setting new paths, but also understanding that old ones, the ones that worked are still valid, looking at things like not being so critical of friends or family letting politics rip apart your life, right? So many people are just stuck in this, like, I'm never talking to so-and-so because they believe this thing. It's like, well, I mean, that's less history, I guess, if it's never happened before to you, but it's kind of like when you look at history overall, like creating those divides in people and not talking to people and ignoring them and stuff, like it's usually a bad news, So like, let's just look at everything holistically and try to make this upcoming year better than the last two, I'll say, not just the last year, better than the last two, certainly. But, yeah,
That was really good. Although, Winston Churchill lived a lot longer before 2021, so I don't know how that's a takeaway from last year, but fine, whatever, I'll give it to you. I'm still thinking about mine, but I was going to say something along the lines of, kind of along those same lines, maybe, but just like,
there's got to be a good Yoda quote to throw in here. Come on, look up a couple.
No, I don't want to do Yoda quotes.
Doomed to repeat, you are.
No, I think it has to be like, biggest takeaway is you can make anything you want if you just put the effort in. That makes sense? Kind of
along the lines of, you have a lot more power in your life than you realize, and the future's like, you're in control of the future.
Yeah, kind of. Because like we kind of saw one side of that, right? Where sort of at the very beginning of the year, we saw the insurrection and like people thinking that like they had all this power and that they would be able to like overpower the government and the will of like all these people. And those people, stood up to them and stopped it. Obviously some of those people, the cops at the Capitol, like all this stuff, right? So like they had the power to stop that. They could have very easily let them in. They could have let it happen, but like they didn't. So like that's sort of one part of it. But the other part was also like with COVID, right? And getting the vaccines, like we all had the power for ourselves to do something about it, to do something about COVID. And it just took us making that decision to go and do it, to try and like sort of support the cause and to help other people. But it also plays into the fact that like, obviously I bought the house and like whatever I wanted to do in the house, it was sort of in my hands, and all I had to do was like put the effort in, right? Of like making things the way I wanted them to be and doing things like putting the effort in to make something the way that I wanted to be and the way that I wanted to look. But I think it just like it applies to everything. Like with relationships, right? Like you have control over your relationships. So like choosing how you want those relationships to be, and like you putting your effort in and doing what you making the relationship what you want it to be, and whether it turns out that way or not, like that's irrelevant, but like you put your effort in and try to do something and make it into what you want it to be. But then it also goes into this like not anti-work, but like sort of anti-corporation, like people like taking ownership of their jobs too, and realizing that like if you want better pay, if you want all this stuff, like you have that power and you can make the choices to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you said of taking ownership stood out because I'm a big fan of the book Extreme Ownership. It's one of the very few books I've literally purchased for somebody and given it away. But it's very much in line with that, right? It's like you have a lot more control and power than you think you do. You just have to be willing to take the charge and tackle it, right? It's kind of like a lot of people's situations suck, especially with the pandemic, right? Everybody was going through something. And you have the power to sit there and be upset, or you can say, I'm going to be upset, but I'm still going to go for a walk, and I'm still going to try to take my meds, and I'm still going to do this and this, and right. It's like you still have a lot of power. It's just that we're taught we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are good, man. Thank you for coming up with these questions, and I think it was very beneficial going through this activity. I did something similar with Andrea actually, on New Year's Eve. Not these same questions, but similar format of like questions we came up with for the last year.
Hit her with what was your favorite episode?
Next year I'm gonna do that. But anyway, thank you all for listening. If these questions stood out to you, maybe take a moment to ask yourself these questions and see how you feel, or how you would answer any of these. Or maybe talk to your loved ones, or your family, or your friends, or whatever with these questions, and do a little review for yourselves, which I think will be beneficial, and a good way to start off a new year with all that in mind. With that, stay safe, stay healthy, and we will talk to you guys soon.